Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows.
Well, hello everybody. I'm finally getting around to doing something that I have considered and thought about doing for quite a while. You've all heard, I'm sure, of No Mow May. People are not supposed to mow their lawns in May because of the beneficial flowers that might bloom on the lawn, or also that some of the insects have overwintered in the lawn. Well, I've taken that one step further. This is the third summer that I haven't mowed at all. Something that I used to do a long time ago, and then I started mowing. I've always joked with people, they ask me, they say the lawn's burning up, and I say, well, I don't really have a lawn, I have green stuff that I mow. It's mostly weeds and some grass and clover and all that sort of thing. But I want to take you around and show you what has developed and flourished over the 3 summers of not mowing at all. And it's made a great deal of difference in the amount of wildlife here, particularly pollinators. I have more pollinators on my property than I've ever seen before. I also have a lot of birds here in the summer that I didn't used to see so much. Various kinds of sparrows that seem to go down deep into the tall growth. I assume they're finding insects of some kind that they like to eat. And butterflies. This year it seems to be all monarch butterflies, but that isn't just my property. Everywhere I go on the island I see a butterfly, it's a monarch. I don't know what's happening there. I'll give you a little guided tour of what I'm talking about here. Might as well start off by showing you a monarch butterfly. That's globe thistle that it's on. Planted by me. It's not a native wildflower or anything, but planted by me a number of years ago in a raised bed, and it flourishes. The butterflies love it, especially that monarch. It's the same one or not, but there's been a monarch on it for several days, all day long. Every time I look out, there's my monarch butterfly. He just moved to a different flower for a better view, so I had to take another shot. They are so beautiful. You probably can hear the noise in the background. It's not me mowing, that's my next door neighbor. This is tansy, which is a native wildflower. I think I brought it to my property though. I grew a number of herbs, both medicinal and culinary or whatever, a few years ago, or quite a few years ago now. Yarrow was one of them, and it has spread like wildfire. But I don't see anything on it right now, but it usually has pollinators of one kind or another, bees or hornets or whatever, using it. Now, this is Greek oregano. From here I can see the bees. Hopefully you can pick them out. Maybe I'll go in and take a closer shot, a close-up of it. But it's also something that I planted a long time ago, and it spreads. I don't know, birds or something move the seed around, I guess. I even see it on neighboring properties. There's a property across the road that has a big clump of it in bloom right now. It had to have come from here, I think. I don't think there's anybody else in the area with Greek oregano. I'll add this little clip taken a bit closer up. But I see a number of bees and one butterfly. Not a monarch this time. Now this is Achillea. Common name is yarrow. And that could be a wild one. It's white. Does seem to have maybe a little blush of color on it. I'll show you another one in a minute here. A long time ago again, I grew a package of Achillea of various colors.
and I still see them popping up here and everywhere. They're extremely hardy and have continued to multiply over the years here. So I don't know if that's just there are wild Achillea around here, so that may be a wild one. Hopefully the color change will show up on the video. This one is a very pale pink, and I know that it's one of the ones that I grew from seed a long time ago. I didn't plant it in this area, but it has moved around the property everywhere. Nobody on it this morning, but I've seen butterflies on it before. And this is Himalayan jewelweed. Jewelweed, I say it properly. Also called a touch-me-not, or impatience, I guess. Himalayan impatience also is another name for it. But if you're familiar with the little wild orange blossom flower that's called a touch-me-not, this is called that because of the seed pod that forms after the flowers. When it's ripe, if you just touch one of them, it springs open and throws its seeds far and wide. Well, this does the same thing. Walk through a clump of it once it's set its seeds, and you're bombarded with seeds, which is how it obviously spreads. Very popular with the bees. I'll try to get you in for a close-up here. Well, every time I try to zoom in, the bees, of course, go another direction. Hopefully you can see some of the insect activity there. They're buzzing and going in all directions. Mostly bumblebees. They really love this thing. They go inside of each flower. So there's no problem there with pollinating, that's for sure. Getting more into what I would consider native wildflowers now. This is a mullein verbascum, wild verbascum. It starts blooming at the bottom and carries on until it reaches its full height, blooming out at the top. So these ones have been in bloom for quite a while. And then it's left with an enormous, long seed head. I don't know, I'm going to say millions of seeds, definitely thousands of seeds. I don't believe it was native to Campobello. A friend of mine who doesn't live here any longer, she moved to live with her daughter in the Fredericton area. Her father brought some seed heads here in the fall once and scattered them around her property. And when they bloomed there, it was the first time I'd ever seen one. And I did the same. I got one of her seed heads and brought it to my property. Well, now I do see it in many locations on the island, but I really think that's how it got here. And this is another local wildflower, evening primrose. I love the thing. It blooms along the roadsides. And what always annoys me is this time of year when it's in full bloom, they hire someone to go along with a mowing machine and mow them down along the roadside. I always think they're too pretty to cut down, but I have a fair amount of that on my property. Not a lot, but a fair amount of it. This is a native wildflower that grows in great drifts in fields and along the roadsides. I don't have a lot of it on my property, but it has been increasing here over the years. It begins like this, and that one there is basically just starting to bloom. It blooms from the bottom to the top again. When it's finished, it releases hundreds of seeds, like how a dandelion releases its seed, the little feathery thing that it flies away on, and that's how it populates itself in other locations. And these, of course, are the black-eyed Susans that I grew from seed this year, hoping that they will naturalize. I'm very pleased with the amount of blossoms that I'm getting anyway on all of the plants that I put in various locations. Just hoping that they overwinter and also reseed themselves. This, unfortunately, is stinging nettle, which I did not intentionally plant. Never had nettles on Campobello all of my life until the last couple of years I've started to see it. I'm convinced that it came in bottom compost, bottom potting mixes, because that's where I started seeing it first, was actually inside the greenhouse growing in there, and then outside in areas where I had discarded used compost. So it has gone from there to spreading around my property. I've lost the battle, I guess. And this is a bit of monkshood. Aconitum, I think, is the proper name. I don't see bees right now, but it's another one of those things that bees like to crawl up inside of it, so they definitely gets pollinated. Also, one of the plants that is poisonous, but I don't eat it, so I'm not worried about that, I guess. My hummingbird feeder, but there are two hummers that are fighting over it right now. Nobody seems to roost long enough to get a drink of the nectar that I made fresh this morning. From the inside looking out, I had a bit better luck. This is a native, wild New Brunswick grapevine. This particular one is growing on the side of my house. I have them in several locations on the property. I started with one years ago that grew on the side of the house, and it got winter killed or something. I thought, that's it, I've lost them. And then up at the roadside, I discovered one. And the thing is enormous. It has branches on it as big around as your wrist. And it's still flourishing. They produce a lot of grapes, tiny little grapes, but the wild birds love them in the fall. As soon as the leaves fall off and the grapes are all exposed, it doesn't take them long to clean them up. And this is malva, another garden flower that produces a lot of seeds and gets spread around in different locations. Hopefully the guinea fowl will stay quiet enough that I can explain what you're looking at. It's a clump with the Himalayan jewelweed and tansy in it. What I'm trying to show you is growing around the base. That's catnip. Nepeta, I think, is the family name for it. Also something that I started a number of years ago when I had cats. And it spreads like crazy, throws all kinds of seeds around. But it's just starting to bloom, and it's always very popular with the bees. We're being drowned out by the guinea fowl. What I'm trying to show you here in this field of the Himalayan jewelweed and tansy and whatever is at the very back, those taller green plants are wild elder, and they have already produced their fruit and the birds have eaten it. Every year, as soon as they're ripe, they fill solid full of cedar waxwings. They just love the fruit off of the wild elder. I've planted a number of sunflowers this year in different locations. This particular spot, there's also a black-eyed Susan growing up in the middle, but there's two different sunflowers there. You can make them out, one closer to us and one further away, that's sort of bicolored at least, I guess. This is one of the earlier sunflowers to bloom, and you can see where the birds have started stripping away the parts of the flower to expose the seeds down under. Might as well help them. Lots of seeds. I don't know if they'll eat them now or if they'll wait until they mature. It doesn't take long for them to form. It just seems like yesterday that it first bloomed out. The center one seems to be more firmly attached. I was down and let the guinea fowl out a few minutes ago. I wanted to show you them coming up here. They have maintained tunnels or pathways, whatever. I don't know how I managed to do it, but I have 6 males, not a female, amongst them. 2 two in the rear there, the darker ones, are a year older. And the light gray ones, I think it was last spring that I got them. They don't like me standing here. I'm going to have to move, I guess. Any minute now they will take a run down my driveway and go explore the neighborhood. That's why I don't let them out until fairly late in the afternoon, so they don't harass people, but they love to take off, and they're gone for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Here we go. The race is on. I let my little banties out at the same time, but they're better behaved. They stay home. They love getting out. They go off into the trees and scratch and eat greens and whatever. Kind of bashful, I guess. Well, to close this off, I wanted to give you a look at these LED solar lights that are out here in the garden. They're not showing up very well, at least from what I can see on the screen here. They're very bright and very clear. I really like the things. I only had them 2 or 3 days, but they charge all day and they seem to run all night. Well, I will put this thing together and get it uploaded. Thank you very much for watching.